Just after 2 in the morning, in a French forest, one American soldier hears the sound of wire cutters. Then the gunfire starts. Within minutes, his rifle is empty, his grenades are gone. What's left is a knife, and more than a dozen men coming for him and the soldier beside him. He will win this fight with his bare hands, and the medal for it will not reach him for 97 years. His name was Henry Johnson. Born around 1892 in North Carolina, he moved north to Albany, New York, working whatever jobs he could find: a coal yard, a rail station, a chauffeur's seat. In June 1917, with America newly at war, he enlisted. He was assigned to an all-black regiment out of New York. It would later be renamed the 369th Infantry. The regiment history would remember as the Harlem Hellfighters. But the army that drafted him would not let him fight beside it. Under the command of General Pershing, black regiments were kept out of American combat divisions altogether, so the 369th was handed off, attached instead to the French army, equipped with French rifles and French helmets. The soldiers who trained on American soil would go to war under someone else's flag. When the regiment finally reached France, something strange happened. The American army did not want them in it. Instead of putting a black regiment inside an American division, the High Command handed them over to the French. They were given French rifles, French helmets, a French division to belong to. And later that same year, American headquarters would send French officers a memorandum about black American troops, a warning: do not treat them as equals, do not praise them too highly, do not get too close. The French had been bleeding for 3 years. They needed soldiers. They put the 369th into the line. There was something else the 369th carried to France. 100 musicians, led by a lieutenant named James Reese Europe. On paper, a regimental band. In practice, something the continent had never heard. They played ragtime in French town squares, and crowds followed them from village to village. Historians credit that band with carrying jazz into Europe. The French army gave them 5 kettle drums as a mark of esteem. One more drum they carried had been taken from a German unit. These men were handing America's music to the world, while America would not let them stand in its own line. By May 1918, Johnson's regiment was holding a stretch of the front near the Argonne forest, attached to a French division, guarding the line the French and Americans stood behind. Just after midnight on the 15th, Johnson and a young private named Needham Roberts were posted alone at a forward outpost. Somewhere in the dark, they heard the click of wire cutters. The official record says at least 12 German soldiers came through the wire that night. Some newspaper accounts at the time claimed far more. What isn't disputed is what happened next. Johnson and Roberts opened fire and threw every grenade they had. Both men went down, badly wounded, before the Germans ever reached them. Roberts could no longer stand. When the raiders tried to drag him away as a prisoner, Johnson moved. His rifle was empty and jammed, so he swung it like a club. Then he pulled out his bolo knife, the only weapon he had left, and fought them hand to hand. In the dark, alone. There wasn't anything so fine about it, he said later. Just fought for my life. A rabbit would have done that. By the time it was over, the raiding party had fled, leaving behind their own equipment in the mud. Johnson had taken 21 wounds. He had not let them take Needham Roberts. If a story like this deserves to be remembered, take a second and subscribe. That's how we keep bringing men like this back into the light. France did not wait. Within a day, they pinned the Croix de Guerre on him with a golden palm, one of the first Americans of the entire war to receive it. Needham Roberts received one too, and when the regiment came home, New York gave them a morning, February 17th, 1919, a Monday. About 2,900 men stepped off from 23rd Street and kept going, more than 7 miles, all the way up to 145th Street and Lenox Avenue, into Harlem. Henry Johnson did not march. He could not. He rode in an open car, with a silver plate in his foot, holding a bouquet of lilies, waving his overseas hat at a city that had come out to see him. For one morning, the whole country cheered for him. When the fighting stopped, the numbers came out. 191 days in the line, longer than any other American regiment-sized unit in the war. About 1,400 casualties. 171 men decorated with the Croix de Guerre, and the regiment decorated as a whole. And at the end of it, they were the first Americans to march into Germany. They had been sent to France because their own army did not want them. They came home with a record almost no American unit could match. But the parade did not follow him home. Here is the part that is hardest to forgive. When the army discharged him, his paperwork said nothing about his wounds, not the 21 injuries, not the silver plate in his foot, nothing. On paper, Henry Johnson had come home unharmed. That one omission followed him for the rest of his life. No Purple Heart, no disability allowance, no pension for a man who could barely stand through a shift. He tried to go back to carrying bags at the station in Albany. His body would not let him. The work went, then the money, then his marriage. He spent his final years in pain and largely alone. On July 1st, 1929, Henry Johnson died in New Lenox, Illinois. He was 36 years old. And then Henry Johnson disappeared. For 72 years, almost no one knew where he was buried. His own family did not know. Then, in 2001, historians at New York's Division of Military and Naval Affairs went looking. They went through microfilm. They went through paper files that had not been opened in decades. And they found him. Arlington National Cemetery, Section 25, Grave 64. He had been resting there the whole time, buried with full military honors in 1929, and then simply lost in the paperwork. What followed was a slow, decades-late reckoning. In 1996, Johnson was posthumously awarded the Purple Heart. In 2002, the Distinguished Service Cross. And on June 2nd, 2015, 97 years after that night in the forest, President Barack Obama presented Sergeant Henry Johnson with the Medal of Honor. Henry Johnson fought alone, in the dark, for a country that would not fight beside him. It took that country nearly a century to say his name the way it should have from the start. And the reckoning didn't stop with him. The law had been signed in 2021. It took 4 more years to hold the ceremony. On the 3rd of September, 2025, in Emancipation Hall at the United States Capitol, the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest civilian honor Congress can give, was presented to the entire 369th Infantry Regiment. It was carried in by Deborah Willett, the granddaughter of Sergeant Leander Willett, a Harlem Hellfighter. The room was full of descendants, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of men who came home in 1919 to a country that had not yet decided whether to be proud of them. So we'll ask you, Who should history bring back next? Tell us in the comments. Forgotten valor, the hero's history left behind. We'll see you next week.